When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of those, of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me." They will also answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger and needing clothes or sick in a prison and did not help you?" He will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." Then they will go away to the eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. The title of my message today is Sheep or Goat. We have to find out today, are we a sheep or a goat? Would we be on the right side or the left side? Now, we first got to ask ourselves, what's the difference between sheep and goat? And I'm going to go literal here. Sheep will flock. They'll follow a shepherd. They're good at taking orders and commands. The goat may look like a sheep, but it doesn't follow. It doesn't take command. It's a stubborn, foolhardy animal who often finds its own demise. And they lead themselves into places they shouldn't be. To the untreated eye in some nations, a sheep and a goat look quite a bit the same. And it's hard to tell the difference. But the shepherd knows. The shepherd sees the difficulty the goat has following, and he sees the ease with which the sheep follow. Even when sheep get unruly, they still stay back on the path eventually. So you have to ask yourself today, keep this in mind, am I a sheep or am I a goat? Do I play the part or do I look the part? You got to find out today. So we're going to start by in step 2 here in my sermon. Am I a sheep or am I a goat? The first indication you're going to have is, do you talk about kind works or do you do them? Are you the kind of person that says, "My church gave this week, but you gave nothing"? Are you the kind of person that sees someone in need and passes them up and says somebody should do something for them? Are you the kind of person, when the conversation comes up of those less fortunate than you, you pass on your concern, but when you see someone less fortunate than you, you don't pass on $1, you don't pass on time, you don't pass on love? That's one indication that you're a goat. You don't do kind works. You just talk about them. And there's some danger in that, because words are good, but Jesus' words didn't save us. It was his actions. So what if the difference to someone was your actions and not your words? What if the difference to someone making the decision to spare their life from suicide was a bit of love that you could have provided every day? What if the only meal someone had was the $1 you had in your pocket? What if the only love someone had was the love in your heart, and you decided not to give? Well, that'd make you a goat. Now, the next part of this sermon is your faith easily rocked? Are you the kind of person that loses faith when it's not easy? I could tell you a secret about faith. It's either 100% or it's nothing. You can't have 98% faith. It's 100 or fail. And when it's easy, it's not faith. When you find yourself having an easy situation to have faith in, you're not having faith. You're having logic. When it be explained, when things can be explained, you're looking at things logically, not faithfully. So if you often find yourself running out of faith and needing a refresh of your faith, that's okay. But if you're the kind of person whose faith is always easily rocked, it makes you a goat. It makes you a goat. You see, sheep, like I mentioned before, would give. They would do the kind works. Sheep would have faith. When the shepherd moves, the sheep move. When the flock moves, the sheep move. And they have faith in that. The sheep don't know where they're going. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about too much of these animals, but I can't imagine sheep are too smart. For the size that they are, their brain has to be pretty small considering how small their head is compared to their body. So I imagine sheep are actually kind of stupid. I can't say that. If there's any farmers here who can confirm, please do so. If you can confirm the opposite, please keep that to yourself. So I'm standing here today wondering, am I a sheep or am I a goat? Ask yourself these questions daily. Do I do kind works or do I talk about them? Ask yourself, is my faith easily rocked? Then you ask yourself, do I follow God consistently or fleetingly? Following God takes attention and effort. It's not natural. It's not easy. Sometimes it's not fun, but it's necessary. And I can tell you it's not going to happen sitting on the couch. And this isn't another one of those hellfire and brimstone sermons telling you to get up and find someone to give to. I'm telling you, your couch is the devil's work. It's good to relax for a little while, but some of us relax too long. I've been guilty of that myself. There are times when you have spare moments in your life and you choose to use them to do nothing. Now imagine if the Lord had done the same. Imagine if in the spare moments the Lord didn't go to prayer or find someone in need. Imagine how different your life would be if you took the 15, 20 minutes you spent sitting on the couch doing nothing and read the Bible, or spent some time with your wife or your children, or you spend some time thinking about how to make yourself a better person. And I'm not here to chastise anybody, but what I'm here to say is we can all be better. All of us. Even those of us who think we are sheep, we can all be better. And I tell people every day, I have friends of mine who ask for relationship advice, and I tell them, if you ever look yourself in the mirror and think you're good enough for your wife, you failed. And that can be the same thing for your faith. If you ever look yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm doing just fine, then I can tell you, you're doing just fine. But just fine isn't good enough in faith. Like I mentioned before, following God is hard. It takes effort. It takes faith. Faith must be done 100%. Faith is not something you can do fleetingly. Following God is not something you can do every once in a while. You can't stray from the path and find God, because a secret to God's walk is He's going to keep walking, because that's the journey. He'll come back and find you, but what you might find when you drift off is you might come back and not know where God is at. The danger in straying from the path of God is the same danger from straying for a sheep. Eventually, you find the wolves. Eventually, you might make your way back, but the flock is gone. And you're just a sheep. You've never led yourself. You don't know where to go. So you do the best you can. Before this sermon, I did some research and I found out that more than half of the sheep that stray from the flock for more than 10 minutes are never found again, or when they are found, they are dead. I can tell you now, fortunately, we serve a God who can bring the dead back to life, but that sounds like Christians. Those of us who stray too long, our faith had died. Our belief had died. We took the Bible off of our bookshelf. So let me tell you now, ask yourself these 3 questions daily. Am I doing kind works? How's my faith today? And am I on the path with God? And I have some things I want to go back over with each of these points because I want them to stick. So going back to, do you talk about kind words or do you do them? Here's the kind of thing I need you to say to yourself. Are you the person in the office who gives the most? Are you the first up when offering comes? Are you the first to say, I'll help you, brother? Are you the first to visit someone in the hospital? Because as Christians, you should be. I myself am guilty of this as well. This is work that we all have to do. We can no longer be the kind of Christians that are second to putting our time, our effort, our love in the pot. Because right now what's happening is the world has gotten pretty charitable. And if we let the world give more than we do, then we failed. If we let outsiders of the Christian faith outgive us, then what have we done? How have we been like Jesus? No one can outgive Jesus. No one ever did. No one got close. So let's catch this back. Let's start outgiving again. Not just in this building. Don't try to outgive your brothers. It won't work. Go out and outgive the world. Spend more time with those in need. Be the kind of person who makes a difference where you go. If you're at your job and you hate it, that's okay. Make a difference there. If you're at home and things are hard, that's okay. Make a difference there. As Christians, you are difference makers. So when you have an opportunity for kind works, do them. You go to, is your faith easily rocked? Too often, we need proof for faith. And when you find yourself running out of faith, what you've said to yourself is, I can't believe in God the way I should. And if you consistently find your faith rocked, let me tell you, your faith is in you, not in God. Because God is a natural faith. Once you've known God, Pastor Kane can tell you, my grandfather can tell you, once you've known God and you've been blessed by God, it comes natural to believe. It's easy to believe. He's given you no reason not to. I can tell you in my life, I'm only 26. I've had a lot of miracles for myself. I've had a lot of opportunities to believe. Some I took, some I didn't. And the ones that I took always ended up the right way. And the ones where I didn't have faith are the times I can point to my life as failures. Because you find yourself with two choices daily: believe God or believe yourself. And I've learned that I'm 26. I've got no college degree. I'm not making six figures. I've got a place. I'm doing fine. But why would I have faith in someone who's doing fine when there's someone who's doing pretty well for themselves up there? How could we know the Creator and not follow Him? How could we know the Creator of all is in control and lose our faith? How can we read the good book and not do good works? How can we know God and not follow Him? I'll tell you this much. I kind of, in a way, don't like the words follow God, because it doesn't really get it for me. I don't want to follow God. I don't want to. I want to chase God. I want to chase Him down. I don't want to follow Him. I want to nip at His feet. I don't want to be the sheep in the back. I want to be the front sheep, the one that's right behind the shepherd, the best sheep, the leader sheep. I want to be the one that steps first. I want to be the sheep that comes to the Savior first. Ask yourself, are you that sheep? Do you move when the shepherd moves, or do you move when the flock moves? Do you do what other Christians do, or do you do what Jesus did? The world constantly says, well, Christians aren't as good as they say they are. And often they're right. That's a part of the faith. I'm not as good as you think I am. I'm not as good as the image I might try to put up here. But that's okay. My faith, my religion, my Christianity isn't based upon me. I'm just a sheep. It's based upon the shepherd. So you might say to yourself, I kind of sound like a goat. I think I might be a goat. And this sermon might have started to scare some of you, because you might think, well, if I'm a goat, I'm on the wrong side of that scripture. But the best part of Christianity is, unlike literal sheep and goats, you can change. A goat, despite how much it wants to be, cannot change its genetic code to become sheep. But you can change your spiritual code to become sheep. And this is something you might have to do daily. See, another difference between sheep and goat, and the Christian sheep and the Christian goat, is you might lose sheep status. You might lose goat status. This is something that you have to do daily to keep up. The Lord will never abandon you, but you can abandon him. So keep up. Keep up your walk. And let me tell you how to become a sheep. It's pretty easy. Have a kind, loving heart. Choose unyielding faith. And follow God no matter what happens. When you have a kind, loving heart, you want to spend time with people to make their lives better. You want to spend time with people not because it does something for you, but because it does something for them. Getting on the cross for Jesus did nothing for himself. Even rising on the third day didn't do anything for Jesus. Everything he did was for you and me. He died on that cross and my sins died with him. Now imagine if our Lord didn't have a kind, loving heart. Imagine if he just talked about having a kind, loving heart. It's hard, I know. I can relate to some of you out there who are saying, it's hard to love people. I can relate to you, but let me tell you something that I've learned. You're just as hard to love. I'm just as hard to love. I tell my wife all the time, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to love people. And then I get home and I think about myself and I think, man, how are people going to love me? So let me tell you something about love. It's a choice. Don't let the world lie to you. Loving people is a choice. And that's in all aspects of love. For those of you who are struggling in your relationship, choose love instead. Instead of anger, choose love. Instead of hatred, choose love. For those of you who have children in need, don't chastise, love them. Discipline them, but discipline them with love. Raise them with love. Put love in your heart. Make that choice first. Let every breath you take be a breath of love, and you'll find yourself getting closer to sheep status. Your wool will grow. You'll start to smell a bit like lanolin. So you choose unyielding faith next. And again, faith is a choice. And I can tell you a secret about faith that the teenage version of myself didn't understand. Faith doesn't mean you're not scared. Faith doesn't mean you have all the answers. Faith just means you know who does, and you believe in who does. When Goliath was defeated, David wasn't happy to see a giant. You're not going to be happy to see your problems. I'm not telling you that. I don't want people to think Christians are insane. I don't want people thinking that. I don't want people thinking, well, Taisha's a Christian, and every time a bill comes and she didn't have money for it, I see her dancing in the streets. Be a little worried. That's okay. It's okay. But what's not okay is to run out and say, why, God? And to say, what are you going to do? There's two ways you can say that. What are you going to do questioning God? And what are you doing, God? Or you can say the same words with different inflection. What are you going to do, God? What are you going to do? I ask God that daily. God, what are you going to do? Because I'm excited to know he's doing something. And you can ask God what and challenge him, or you can ask God what and open the opportunity for him to show you something. Let's stop challenging God with why. Let's take why out of our Christian dictionary. The answer is, I'm not going to tell you. I've asked God why 1,000,000 times. I never got an answer. And if I did, I wouldn't understand it. Some scriptures in the Bible have people asking why. Have Jesus questioning why. But even they got no answers. Why would we get answers? I find myself with God acting like my son, who comes to me and says, but why, Dad? But why? And a couple of times I try to explain it to him. And he looks me right back in the eye and he goes, yeah, but why? That's us. If God gave you an answer, you would just say, yeah, but why? It would just bring another question to you. Also, it's more fun if you don't know. You know, the worst thing on the planet to me is spoiler alerts. I hate watching a movie and somebody goes, "Oh no." Well, now I'm not going to be scared when he pops up, am I? Or they go, "Oh, this is the part where he dies." And I go, "Well, I haven't seen it." We've got some friends who do that, or they're too expressive when they watch a movie. So when they come over, I try to sit as far away from them as possible, or sit where they're not in my peripheral because I don't want the movie ruined. And I've got one friend in particular who will see a good movie, and you'll ask him what it's about, and he'll go, "Well, it's about a man and a woman who both discover that they're secret agents." They both die, by the way. And then you're like, "Well, okay, well, now I know the beginning, the middle, and the end, so I guess I've seen the movie." So we've learned that he's not allowed to tell us about movies he likes. He could tell us the title, and we'll go look them up ourselves. But if you know the answers, what I'm getting at here is you can spoil the surprise when you ask. You can spoil the surprise. Why ask why? It's kind of like asking, "Hey, does that guy die in the end? Is he going to make it?" You don't want to really know the answer. The best part of the Christian walk is stepping out in faith and having people tell you the whole way through, "You're not going to make it. That's not going to work. That's not going to happen." And then standing on the other side of success with no answers. I don't like explaining myself. And when I choose faith, I don't have to. I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to explain why I know. I just do. I just do. It's simpler. That's the best answer for your kids. Just do it. I know. Believe me. I tell my son that every day. I've been doing this dad thing for as long as you've been alive, so just trust me. He reminds me a little bit too much of myself. And for those of you who watch me grow in this church, I need you to pray for me daily. Because I think on the end of sheep and goat, my son might be a horse. So I don't know where God put the horses, but I know they're there somewhere. So when you choose unyielding faith, life becomes simpler. But let me tell you that faith makes things easier. Faith makes things harder. Faith requires you to choose something that's not going to make any sense. Exactly, something you can't see. We live in a world where things are explained by what we see, by what we understand, or so they tell you. See, they tell you in the world that this planet was created by an explosion, yet they have no explanation as to why. The world questions you for believing something you can't see, yet they believe in things they can't see every day. Some of us have never seen Mars, but we believe it's there. And I'm not here to tell you, Mars isn't real. I'm not the guy with tinfoil on my head. What I'm telling you is they're not that much different than us. Choosing the world's way would just require you to believe in things you don't see anyways. They tell you to just have faith that when you vote for the right person, they'll do the right things. Larry, is that true? Yeah, that's what I thought. I've been through a couple of elections, but I don't have as nice of a span of knowledge on this. Harold, is it true that when I vote for somebody who believes like me, things work out? Yep. Nope. It's not true. Daily, they ask you to do things that have no merit. So here's what I'm saying. If your reason for not believing in God is because you can't see him, there's a lot you shouldn't believe then. And if you're faced with choosing things you can't see on this side of the world or on this side with God, this is your spot right here. This is your spot. Because what I can tell you about the world is the things you can't see with the world are the things that get you. Some people don't see debt coming. They don't see death. They don't see illness. They don't see sacrifice and hardship and heartache. They don't see hurricanes. They don't see storms. They don't see bad weather. They don't see anything coming. But let me tell you about the things you can't see with faith. Glad tidings. Blessings pouring out with which you can't receive. The things you can't see in faith are the good things. When you come on this side of the walk, when you come to this side of choices and you get to faith, you find the things you can't see are the best. The things you can't see are the best. Every challenge I've had a visual. I can see it. I can sometimes even see the devil standing there, challenging me, mocking me. I can see him. I can feel him. I can know he's there. And I get a sense, I know my problem, I know my struggle. A few years ago, I knew my back hurt. I couldn't see healing coming. But it came anyways. Day after day after day, choose faith. Choose it. Choose faith, and good things will come. And if you don't know what to do, just believe. I can challenge every single one of you right now to come back to me next week and tell me where faith has failed in the Bible, in your life, or in someone else's life. Some of you might say, well, I believed and it just didn't happen. Maybe it wasn't supposed to. They say life is a book and you write the pages. Well, I've decided to hand my pen to God. I'm not a good author. I'm writing a book now and Nell is editing it. She can tell you, I don't use punctuation. My teachers told me, you don't use punctuation. I said, well, Shakespeare didn't. If it works for Shakespeare, it works for me. But I can tell you now, following God, no matter what, is the next step and the last step, the most important to me. You see, the thing that keeps sheep safe is staying on the path. Because what shepherds do the day before is they walk out, they clear a path, they seek out for any predatory animals, and they shoo them away. Often they'll send them or kill them or move them out of the way for the sheep. So when you stay on the path, the shepherd has already been there. God's already been there. When the big C word came, God wasn't surprised. When you and your wife got in that fight, God wasn't surprised. When the bank account didn't have enough, God wasn't surprised. When your kids give you a phone call and they say, well, I'm behind bars, I need you to bail me out, God's not surprised. We serve a God who doesn't get surprised, because just like a shepherd, he goes out the night before and clears a path for you, and it's safer there. You can ask yourself today, are you going to be a sheep and follow the clean path? Or are you going to be a goat and stray and find yourself off in the distance with the predators? The last fact I looked up for goats and sheep was that goats actually have a longer lifespan, naturally. But they often die before that lifespan. And I'm talking about naturalized deaths, not farmer-induced deaths. I'm talking about natural deaths. The reason that they do so is because goats stray. They don't listen. They're foolhardy. You see, sheep aren't built to last as long, but they do. The natural lifespan of a sheep is typically 10 years. The natural lifespan of a goat is 12 to 15. But more often than not, goats don't make it to 7. They eat things they shouldn't. They eat anything, honestly. My grandpa had some goats, and if you left your finger there, they'd try that. They ate the fence. They ate the grass. They ate thistles. They'd eat themselves if they got hungry enough. And they stray. Anybody ever heard of a goat shepherd? What's a goater? What would that be, a goatherd? Shepherd, sheep, goatherd. Yeah, it would be goatherd. Anybody heard of a goatherd? Yeah, it would be a butcher. That's right. That's the only way. Yeah, that's the only way. The only way goats get to move in a line is when they're walking to their own demise. I feel like sheep would be like, hey, no. You see, goats, just like the world, just like the people in the world, stray. Nothing lasts too long. Fads come and go. Phones come and go. Technology goes and leaves. Being a good person changes daily. There are things you can say today that you can't say tomorrow. There are things you can do today that you can't do tomorrow. There are things that we grew up thinking was okay, and now they're not. The way of the world changes all the time. So when you follow it, you're going to be tired and exhausted. The reason a Christian heart should feel better is because we're less tired. Because our shepherd has cleaned a path for us. We can walk it, we can feel it, we can see it, we can sense it. But out in the world with the goats, there's no path. The predators are still there. And you're a goat. You're not too smart. So what you're doing is running. And that's why people in the world are so distressed. That's why suicide is so common. Because when you're bouncing around and you're moving from time to time, every day moving and shifting and bouncing and moving forward, if you're the type of athlete that moves every second, even when you've done it for years, you get tired. You run out of breath. And that's where the world is at. They're running out of breath. Choose to be a sheep. It may look harder. It may look less fun. But you're going to get to keep your breath longer. When you choose faith, when you choose being kind, when you follow God wholly and fully, no matter what happens, you cannot fail. You can't. Sheep are often considered one of the most important farm animals. When I looked up the most important farm animals, sheep were in the top 5. We forget how important they are and how much our lives would be different if we didn't have what they offered. You know where I found goat? On page 8 of an 8-page article, at the very bottom, just above the credit for the author. It said goats provide good meat, and it's true. But so do almost every other farm animal. Pigs, good meat. Sheep even, good meat. Cows, good meat. So what does the world have to offer you? Good meat. Good meat. That's it. So today when you're asking yourself, tomorrow when you're asking yourself, am I sheep or am I goat? First, remember the answer isn't permanent. And changing yourself is pretty easy. Leave with these 3 things. Have a kind heart. Choose to be faithful. And follow God even when it's hard. Because I can promise you, no matter the visuals, no matter the hardships, no matter the heartache, you will always make it through. Because we serve a God who has cleared a path for you, who has cleared a path for me. So if there are those of you today who say, I want to try that sheep thing, make your way up to the front and we'll make a commitment together to daily have a better heart, choose better faith, and follow God a little easier. And let me tell you right now, those around you are sheep too. We're all just sheep here following the shepherd. So when you feel like you're straying from the path, find a sheep. Talk to them. Get knowledge from them. Talk to Brother Gary. Talk to Larry. Talk to my wife. Talk to Pastor Kane. Don't think you're on this alone. Sheep flock. So do so yourself. You're not in this battle alone. I can tell you guys right now, every single one of you, you're not alone. You're not alone. We serve a shepherd, and therefore we have a flock. So I'm standing here today, the first of goats wanting to be sheep. And if anybody would join me, we are going to commit ourselves daily to making the effort to being sheep.